above all else, your masculinity is the thing that attracts women to you the most. And the more masculine you can be, the more attractive you are to women. Yet where a lot of guys go wrong is thinking that the only way to be more masculine is to build muscle. And basically that's it. You got to be more physically masculine. And while it's true that if a man is skinny and he's standing next to a man who has muscles, the man who has muscles will seem more physically masculine, that doesn't mean that a woman is automatically going to choose the guy who has muscles versus the guy who doesn't. Instead, women can also feel attracted to men who don't have big muscles based on elements of the man's non-physical masculinity. For example, the guy having the courage to talk to her in the first place versus a guy who has muscles not having that courage, or the determination to make something happen between him and her, or the ability to not crumble under the psychological pressure that she occasionally applies on him when they interact. And I'm going to give you an example of a non-physical masculine trait in this video that when you start to use, you'll notice that not only do women find you so much more attractive and they respect you, but other men respect you, right? They see that you are a masculine man. They see that you are a man who is worthy of respect, that should be respected. And a friend of mine recently demonstrated this perfectly in a social setting, right? We're at someone's party and there were a lot of people there, and what happened was that the woman tried to challenge my friend's masculinity in the moment, and she put him under a bit of pressure, right? She said something to him that would usually cause other guys to buckle under the pressure or to become nervous or to become angry or annoyed, but he handled it like a masculine man, and I'll explain that. So the trait is emotional self-control under pressure. So, for example, when someone tries to put a bit of pressure on you in a social situation, you aren't rattled by that. You aren't thrown off. Or when someone gives you a bit of a judging look or a disapproving look, you don't suddenly lose control of your emotions and become insecure or angry. Instead, you're able to maintain control of your emotions essentially like a boss, right? If you notice in movies or TV shows, the ultimate type of boss man is a man who will have people around him and they may say some things that would throw other people off, but he's able to maintain his cool. He's able to maintain his emotional self-control. So this also applies when you're interacting with a woman when you're single or in a relationship, right? You're interacting with her and she won't always be behaving in a way that is going to be reassuring towards you. And she won't always be trying to make everything easy for you. At times, she'll want to test to see how confident and masculine you really are. Are you the sort of man that is going to buckle under a little bit of pressure from her? Are you suddenly going to become insecure or start to chase her in the interaction if she plays hard to get, if she seems like she's losing interest? Or can you maintain control of your emotions? Can you remain being cool, calm, and collected? And it's not an act. Instead, it's just emotional self-control. And a masculine man is able to do that because he's not relying on other people to make him feel like he's okay to be a man or that he's good enough or that it's okay for him to feel confident. It's okay for him to feel secure. Instead, he'll feel secure regardless of what people are saying around him, just like a boss, right? He'll have that ultimate boss energy where he doesn't need the other person to be making everything easy for him in order for him to feel confident. And when a friend of mine experienced this recently, we're in a group conversation and there were a number of men and women in the group. And there was one woman who was a little bit feisty and she wanted to see if my friend's confidence was real, to the point where she said, "You're pretty sure of yourself, huh?" Now, how would you react to that? What would you say? What would your body language be like in that moment when the other men were in the group and she's just called you out now when you're being confident in a group situation? She said to you, "You're pretty sure about yourself, aren't you?" What are you going to say in that moment? How are you going to show her that you have emotional self-control? How are you going to be a masculine man? What are you going to do? In moments like those, guys who aren't truly masculine will begin to crumble under the pressure. Right? The woman says, "You're pretty sure of yourself, aren't you?" And he then starts to feel unsure of himself. Everyone else is looking at him now. She's just called him out. And he may then try to prove himself. Or he may say some sort of insecure or defensive comment back of, "What do you mean? Why would you say that?" Or what? And the woman then knows with just a little bit of a challenge, a little bit of a poke, a little bit of a push, the guy has toppled over. Right? His masculinity is essentially as strong as a house of cards. Right? Just a little bit of a push and the whole thing just falls over. It falls apart. Other guys will feel like they need to explain themselves in the moment to the woman. and therefore she will feel like she's above him, right? She'll feel like she's able to tool him, mess with him. She'll feel like she's able to control him just by saying something. And he'll say something like, oh no, I'm just a confident guy. I've always been like this. But he's hoping then that the woman gives him a pat on the back and say, oh no, it's fine. I was just saying, yeah, you seem quite confident. But she's not going to. If he responds like that to a woman like her in a moment like that, she's usually going to challenge him again. And then he's going to start to feel insecure. Then he's going to be peddling and trying to hopefully get her approval. And by doing that, she is looking down on him as a guy who's hoping to get her approval. Whereas when she said it to my friend, she said, you're pretty sure of yourself, aren't you? He maintained control of his emotions and said, why wouldn't I be? Should I be unsure of myself? Would that make you happier? And with that, she instantly knew that he had a backbone, but he wasn't being butthurt about it, right? He wasn't saying like, why shouldn't I be? Should I be unsure of myself? Would that make you happier? If he said that, then he will have lost control of his emotions. He won't have that emotional self-control. And it's important to point this out because a lot of guys get confused about masculinity and think it means that they have to be aggressive and really tough and really show a woman who's boss. Like, what? Why shouldn't I be? Sort of thing. And they're on the defensive. Whereas my friend had emotional self-control and he was able to come from a place of love rather than hate. He was able to maintain an easygoing type of masculinity rather than being butthurt and feeling sensitive about it. And as a result, he was able to say, why wouldn't I be? Should I be unsure of myself? Would that make you happier? And as a result, the woman then sees that the man isn't trying to hurt her with his response, but he has a backbone. He can still be charming while being masculine, right? He doesn't have to get aggressive about it. He doesn't have to get upset. He can maintain control of his emotions and still be attractive in his response while he puts her in her place and makes her realize that he is the man, not her, right? And that she should be respecting him. And as a result, she then gave him a smile. And it was essentially a smile that said, well played, right? And she then respected him more as a result of that. And this is where a lot of guys go wrong, right? Although there's absolutely nothing wrong with going to the gym and building muscle, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And it does make a man look more attractive. It does make a man look more physically masculine, and it even results in men getting looks from women. All of that is true. That's great. But the problem is that a lot of guys make the mistake of thinking that they're going to get a pass from attractive women just because they have muscles. So a man will go to the gym for years, putting in a lot of effort, being very disciplined, doing a great job. And he looks at himself in the mirror and he feels proud of what he's accomplished. He's done a great job. But then when he goes and talks to a woman, she just cuts him down with a comment. She makes him feel insecure and doubt himself. She makes him lose touch with his masculinity. She makes him forget that he is the man. And she basically walks all over him with how she's talking to him or how she's looking at him as they interact. And she notices that she's making him feel uncomfortable. He doesn't have emotional self-control. He doesn't have that type of masculine boss energy where it doesn't matter what the woman is saying or doing, he's still going to be the man. He can't do that. And instead, all it really takes from her is to play a little bit hard to get when interacting with him or tease him a little bit, challenge him a little bit, and she realizes that he starts to crumble. And as a result, she doesn't see him as a masculine man, right? Yes, he has muscles and they look great, fantastic, great job, but she is noticing a lot of weakness in his non-physical masculinity. She is noticing that his masculinity isn't strong and will crumble under pressure from her. And what that means for her is that in a relationship, she's going to have to suppress all other areas of her personality that would challenge him and make him feel uncomfortable and put on an act of being just this docile woman who doesn't say or do anything other than just being reassuring, giving compliments, being nice to him at all times, when women just aren't like that. And it's not because women want to be difficult. Instead, they instinctively want to test your non-physical masculinity because that is going to be the difference between you handling situations with other men and other people in general out there in the real world. A man who has muscles is not automatically the man who's going to be a leader in a group. In most cases, it's going to be the man who has the strongest non-physical masculinity. And that's why a leader of a gang or a leader in the corporate world or a leader amongst friends isn't always the toughest guy physically. Instead, he can be a leader based on traits such as assertiveness, emotional masculinity, confidence, and so on. There are so many different non-physical masculine traits that really set you apart from other men and not only make women feel attracted to you, but make other men respect you. And if you'd like to learn exactly what to say and do to display those traits, I teach them in my Attraction Mastery video lesson series. And The guys who are learning my techniques and applying them are experiencing amazing results with women. Not only are they kissing and having sex with women right away, but guys are also finding that women are saying to them how impressed they are by their masculinity. And guys are also having women being blown away about how sexually confident they are. You can take your attractiveness as a man up so many levels, and it has nothing to do with your physical appearance. You can remain the same as you are physically, even though, as I said, there's nothing wrong with going to the gym, and muscles do attract women. All that stuff is great, but you don't have to build muscle in order to attract women sexually and make them respect you. There are so many non-physical traits that you can begin displaying immediately that automatically cause a woman to feel respect and attraction for you and want you, and in addition to that, also make other men respect you and see you as a man. So if you're interested in learning my exclusive attraction secrets, then check out the Attraction Mastery video lesson series. Alternatively, if you want to continue learning from me on YouTube right now, here's a video that I recommend you watch.